Hey YouTube, I've got a real cool little video today. If you've been watching the unbox videos, you've probably heard me grouse about the fact that all the Dynam props lately don't come with the yellow tips. And I've been paying very close attention to a lot of livery schemes on World War II birds and documentaries and kind of paying attention to it. And a lot of these props had yellow tips. I think almost everyone I've seen, from C-47s to warbirds to British airplanes, everything has a yellow prop. And I really think that's a safety thing. I think they did it for the aircrew on the ground to kind of keep them safe and let them see the prop arc. That yellow prop lets you do that. And so anyway, I've been kind of upset that Dynam hasn't been including yellow paint on the tips. But the other thing I'll comment on is that when I do see yellow tip blades out there, like the FMS blades, for example, one of the things I notice is they have yellow running like, a fifth of the way down the blade. It's way too much. And if you look at all the paint schemes that are out there, the yellow really is just on the tip. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise that Dynam is giving us these black propellers with no yellow on the tips. But I decided I want to do something about it, so here's what I did. And this is just a quick little how-to on how I got mine figured out, and I'm so far I'm pretty happy with the results. As you can see, I've done one prop blade or one propeller, and I'm about to do another one on the video so you can see. So as far as the paint goes, I just got, let me see if I can turn this without spilling it all over myself. Well, I guess it doesn't have a retail label. This is just a tester. It's probably on the top. This is just Tester's Yellow. I got it on Amazon. It was like $2.50. So I was trying to think originally how I was going to do this, and I had tape, and I got my Hobbyco tape, and I was gonna tape everything up, and I thought, man, there's got to be an easier way to get it consistent and looking good with a clean line. And then I thought, well, why not just get a propeller and just dip it into the paint? And so the original thought was I'd just dip it into the edge of the paint. The problem was the paint wasn't high enough, so I looked at the cap and I said, that looks perfect. The trick to this is just make sure you top it up. Or, if you don't want to top it up, just make sure you have a consistent level for each tip that you put in. So I'd say I'm probably about 1 millimeter down from the rim. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the propeller blade. I'm not doing any surface prep because, I used to paint those plastic models when I was a kid, and you could paint this Tester's paint on any of that plastic without ever having a problem. So the real trick is to make sure that the blade is perpendicular and that the cap is always the same level for each tip. Once you've done that, all I'm doing is I'm just dipping the blade in and I'm letting the paint come up to a line. And if you make sure the blade is perpendicular to the ground, you'll get a nice clean edge, and just lift the blade out. And you'll see it drip a little bit. What I've been doing is just kind of gently touching it, against the side to try and get that runoff to come off. And I do the same thing on the back. I'm not doing it so much that I get back to the black on the plastic, just a little touch, and that helps get that extra runoff off the blade tip. A little shake helps too. So because I have one hand on the prop and one hand on the camera, I have to set the camera down to top off my paint. So give me just a minute, and I'm just gonna put a drop of paint back in the lid to fill it back up. Okay, so let's see. There it is. I lost my prop there for a second. So it looks like it's beaded up a little bit. I'm gonna touch that on the lid just one more time to see if I can get that extra little bead off of there, because I don't want it to be beaded up on the end. There we go. That's perfect. Okay, so now let it dry for a minute or two. It doesn't take that long, but you don't want it to run down the blade after you paint it. So just let it dry for a minute or two. Turn a movie on while you do this and just take your time. But let it dry for a little bit, and once that paint seems like it's not going to run anymore, then just turn the propeller, take the next blade, and repeat the process. That's it. So flat down, I'm making sure that my blade is perpendicular to my table. And then after I'm sure that the paint is risen up to the same level on the tip, I'm gonna pull it up, just barely touch the prop to the edge there. Do the same thing on the back side. And I'm gonna go ahead and set my camera down while I top off again. Okay, I've topped off the lid, and I'm just gonna give the propeller a good shake, make sure. Let's take a, yep, see, it gets a little bubbly down there. That's why you touch it on the rim. And if you just give it a little bit of a touch, it'll pull those bubbles off. and the paint comes out much flatter without that bubble. Oops, sorry, a little off frame there. It's kind of hard to pay attention to both things at the same time. Yep, still a little bit of a bubble, so I'm just going to do it again. I'm just going to touch it onto the tip again. The good news is if you mess it up, just dunk it back in the paint again. No big deal. There we go, that looks good. I do have a little, looks like a little bubble in there. That may have to be redone at some point, but these are Dynaplanes, right? They're 1 footers, so a foot away, no one's gonna know. Okay, so last one. Again, I've already topped off my lid, and you do want to top off the lid. Believe it or not, when I did the first one, I could see a difference in the amount of the blade tip that got covered by the yellow paint. I could see it. So I'm real picky about that kind of thing. You probably have gathered that, but anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and drop this last tip in the paint. I'm just gonna let it sit there for a second so the yellow paint forms a nice straight line across the tip of the blade. It just, if you watch it, you'll see the paint just run along the pores in the plastic, and it forms just a nice straight line, and then straight back out again. And then same thing, we'll give it a little shake, tap it against the edge a little bit. Yep, see the little bubble? I'm just gonna do it again. I'm just gonna just touch it against the edge a little bit. See if I can get rid of that bubble. Nope, still there. Yeah, try giving it a shake. That one's being a little stubborn. You see it? It's just a little blob of paint. I want that gone. Okay, there we go. And you know what? Yeah, it looks like on the edge, I see on the left-hand edge a little bit of a jagged edge. So I'm just gonna drop it in the paint again. That's the cool part about this technique. If you see something you don't like, just drop it in the paint again and lift it back out and see if that corrects the line. Yeah, that's pretty good. Again, give it a, sorry I keep going off frame. I'm trying to watch a lot of things here. Just give it a little shake, tap it against the side, see if I can get rid of that excess paint on the tip. All right, that's good enough. I'm just gonna let it dry. And by the way, keep watching your other tips to make sure you don't have paint running. That would be a mess. You don't want that. Just keep an eye out. And then when you're done, all I did was I just took the, poetic justice, right? I took the Dynam instructions and laid them out over my table. And sorry, I gotta set it down again to make some room. And then I just set the prop down. Be careful not to let the paper touch any of your paint, but just set the prop down on that hub. And that hub is a perfect spacing to keep all the blade tips off the paper, and it dries. So it's actually a really simple way to solve a problem. Again, don't know why Dynam doesn't do this, but it definitely looks better in the sky. It's definitely more true to scale. I realize these are supposed to be 4-blade props, but if you watch the Detrim motor test I did, you'll know that the 650 kV motor, I'm kind of at the limit for power, so I can't really go to a 4-blade prop on that plane anyway. So 3-blade prop with the yellow tips, it'll definitely look better in the sky. Real cheap little fix. And when I thought about all the different ways to do this, I finally just thought, you know what, dipping it in the paint's going to give me a good straight edge. I'm not going to have to fuss around with tape. I don't have to worry about coverage. And if I need to do it again, it's real easy. Just drop it in the paint again and not have to fuss around with making sure the tape is equal on both sides and on all the tips. So I just wanted to share with you a technique I came up with, and I guarantee you that's going to look better. Look for it on the Hellcat when I do the Hellcat flight video, and you'll see what I mean. It looks a lot better with yellow tips. So next up, I'll get the Mustang props and do those, and we'll be in business. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit like and subscribe. I appreciate that. It helps these videos rise through the ranks for people that are searching for this type of information on YouTube, okay? Thanks a lot. Take care.